Hey there, and welcome to an old dog in a new conference. I was going to do today a quick recap on the Big Ten's weekend. So, starting out on Friday night, Illinois traveling to Nebraska. I really thought Nebraska was going to take care of business here. I respect Illinois as a team, and kind of felt like they're a quality team, but didn't think they had enough horses to go into Lincoln and beat Nebraska. I was wrong. They pulled it out. It took an overtime win, but a win on the road versus a quality team in that environment says a lot about Illinois. It doesn't mean Nebraska is no good and their season's over. I think they're still a good team, but Illinois is just better than I thought. And I think one season to the next, but especially coming into a new conference, we don't have a lot of historical context for these programs, but Illinois looks strong and they got the win, so impressive. Dylan Raiola made a couple mistakes, but he still played a good game, so it's just a hard-fought battle, a couple of quality Big Ten teams. Next up was our beloved Huskies, and we hosted Northwestern, and the defense was outstanding. Our offense is still good. In fact, it's kind of impressive. At some point or another, we break off these huge passes, but then at some point, we bog down and still suffer from penalties, and more on the defense. And I don't know if that's due to Belichick being kind of a relatively new defensive coordinator or what it is, but we have to clean that up. But you really can't complain about the defense. I mean, 5 points they allowed, so it did great game for the Huskies. Then there's Ohio State playing Marshall. I'm not going to talk about that game. With a game like that, you can't tell much. Ohio State did what they should have done. They slammed them. Same thing goes for Penn State as they played Kent State and then shut them out 56-0. But you can't gain much from that. USC going to Michigan, and they lost 24-27. And I think a lot of people were really willing to just write Michigan off. Like, well, they don't have Harbaugh, they lost talent, so they're done. It's Michigan. They have talent. Maybe they're not national championship talent this season, but if you just want to write them off, I think you're making a mistake. And I think USC is a good team too. I think they went on a road, hostile environment, but the bottom line is two very good teams played, and Michigan came out on top, so congrats to the Wolverines. A fun game to watch, actually, from my perspective, was the LSU-UCLA game. LSU ends up winning the game 34-17, but people are of the opinion that UCLA is not good. Well, they didn't look bad, and if you're talking about number 16 LSU, I mean, I don't want to criticize them because they're LSU. They have tons of talent too, but I'm not sure what they've done to deserve to be, in the top 20. But who knows? But UCLA played what was a pretty tough game, and they didn't let LSU just run away with it. It was a battle. And LSU warmed down and got the win, but I thought UCLA take some positives away from how well they played against the LSU team. Kind of meaningless games. Indiana played Charlotte. I am surprised Indiana's not ranked. They're 4-0 and they have not been tested. They haven't they haven't played a great schedule yet, but they're crushing people, and they beat UCLA more impressively than I think LSU did. So from that perspective, I think they really be ranked. Maryland played Villanova. Villanova hadn't lost a game, so it's hard to judge that. But Maryland won 38-20, and I don't know what to take from that game, honestly. Rutgers versus Virginia Tech, which is a game that I watched to kind of scout for our next opponent. And it was a tough battle. Rutgers won, and I don't think Virginia Tech is a bad team. So I think Rutgers is a quality opponent. The 26-23, they got it done. Iowa played Minnesota, 31-14. Iowa scored 24 points in the second half. That's a lot for them. 7-0 in the first half, but they did get it going. So I think that was a quality win for Iowa. We'll have to see more from their offense, but it was a quality win. Michigan State got defeated, and I feel for Jonathan Smith. I remember him being our offense coordinator, and I still pull for him a little bit, but also remember him as their quarterback for Oregon State. So that's not a fun memory. But Michigan State he's rebuilding. He's starting up from a team that was in disaster, scandal, all that stuff. And Boston College is a quality team. You know, they're not pushover by any means. And so losing 23-19 at Boston College, it doesn't spell disaster. It just says, you know, you've got some work to do, but it's not disastrous. And then the Purdue Boilermakers got beat up by our old friends, the Oregon State Beavers. Well, they didn't get beat up. They got beat 38-21. It doesn't sit well for Purdue. And I don't think Oregon State's a bad team, but I think Purdue is in trouble. That's my recap of the Big Ten games of the week. The biggest shock to me was Illinois beating Nebraska, and the most pleasant game to watch was Washington kind of shutting down Northwestern. And the hardest game to watch was USC getting beat by Michigan. Not that I'm a USC lover, but you know, I still have the old Pac-10 ties, so I pull for the Pac-10 guys to represent our old conference in the new one. So until next time, go Dogs.